Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Husqvarna 555 chainsaw. Customer complaint is that it won't start. I knew I couldn't say it with a straight face. Alright, so customer brought this saw in. He wanted me to evaluate whether or not it could be salvaged. It is a 555 that's been run over with a skid loader. So you can see the handle there is pretty much flattened out. And there's a couple other quick obvious things, like this random piece of plastic. Before I even look at the crankcase or anything else, I'm going to look in the cylinder and make sure that it doesn't have a pre-existing condition, you know, like with a score in it or something. We'll get this spark plug out of here and put a quick eyeball on the condition of the cylinder. It's not real easy to look into these smaller 10mm spark plug holes, but you can just catch, you know, maybe a 1/4 inch of the area above the exhaust port when you're looking in at an angle like this without a camera. And that looked clean. The spark plug looked decent. So I don't think that there was anything wrong with the saw before they squished it. Look how much mud is packed into the grill work of this starter. Funny thing is, you know, this one's been run over and pushed into the mud. But I've seen saws come in that look that bad that were just being run that way. So amazingly, that starter looks like it's in good shape. But that piece of the crankcase isn't in that good a shape. Now the customer did state that he's not looking to get this saw back in brand new condition. If there are a couple of odd things that are broken, but he could still use the saw, he'd be alright with that. Man, there's a lot of mud in there. So there's another crack going on down here. And right there. That crack, I believe there's a limiting stop on the back side of that case that mates up with the fuel tank. Yeah, that's a pretty good crack. Now, certainly the saw would still run with that crack there, but is it safe? Now let's keep looking, see what else we got to see. All the fins are on the flywheel. We don't know if the crankshaft is straight, but I'm going to assume it is because the starter didn't have any damage. I want to get this clutch cover off of here and get this chain out of my way. A closer look at the clutch cover reveals a big crack right in the middle of it. That probably wouldn't stop you from running the saw though. I guess the bar was all bent up pretty bad. Because he did walk in saying he needed a new bar. Didn't initially say that it was run over. So we got a broken brake handle. That's pretty obvious. What I didn't notice was that busted mount there for the brake handle. If I would have seen that right now, I would have stopped. I mean, that's pretty much a deal breaker right there. If the chain brake doesn't work, it's not really a serviceable saw. I know there's some old timers that'll say that we never had chain brakes back in the day. But, you know, it's a dealership. We can't send it out that way. So I want to get this fuel tank off of here because I did see a crack in that front mount. The good news is that this thing's still full of fuel and there is no evidence of a leak. So the tank is still holds fuel, but that front mount, yeah, it didn't look so great. I don't know why I'm looking there. I already know it doesn't have a fuel leak. In order to get the tank off, I'm going to have to remove some fuel lines. And it might seem like I'm moving kind of slow here, but that's because I'm trying to eyeball everything. I mean, I got to make an itemized list so I can come up with a dollar amount. So we're just removing that limiting strap. What am I looking for? Scrunch, of course. Popping the fuel lines off the carb. Yuck. You know, the intake all looks good. I mean, as far as the rubber boot. None of this in this area here got flexed. Looks like it just kind of got, you know, squished one time down into some soft dirt. But there's enough damage here that I think in the end it's going to cost too much to fix this thing. Take our last anti-vibe mount out. Remove our fuel lines. What do we got? We got to remove our throttle cable. We get it off of the carburetor, and then we pull it down out through the bottom of the carburetor tray. And there's our tank. But there is a crack up here. I wanted to get a closer look at it. That whole section kind of flexed, or twisted I should say. Put a crack in it. I suppose, you know, you could still use that part. It's not ideal. Maybe it could be beefed up with some epoxy. So what do we got on the crankcase? So on the clutch side, everything looks pretty decent. This is the pin that was on the back side of the crack we saw near the flywheel. Yeah, that's busted, cracked pretty bad. You know, if that limiting pin breaks and you're bucking a log or something, who knows what might happen. Just looking to see if there's any more cracks in here. I mean, this side doesn't look that bad. Just looking at the serial number tag, it's a 2021 model. So we got a little bit of use out of it before it was destroyed. Now here's what I didn't notice before. That's the mounting point for the chain brake handle. So if you can't have a chain brake on it, then as far as I'm concerned, it's a deal breaker and we're all done. So that's all I got for you on the Husqvarna 555 wheel chock. Thanks for watching. Later.